Hello again. This time I'm gonna explain the code structure of one random page. All the pages have this in common. They're all using audio. They're all using external style sheets. They're all using jQuery, and they all have this more or less animation going on. They might be different from page to page, but the idea is more or less still the same. If you would want specific pages to be explained, I'll do my best to fulfill that require or demand from you. But I'm not going to make 12 videos on every page. That is pretty much just making a new Pixibook, in my opinion, at this time. Okay, so let's open one of these pages. We can open page 1, for example. First things first, we are writing HTML5. We want to please the teachers as much as possible. And by doing that, we simply just, whenever we are creating a new document, we make sure that it is HTML5. And just shortly on HTML5, it has some new functions, especially how you organize all your containers. For example, you can, instead of writing div id equals to something, and then make sure that that something is in relation to menu, content, footer, header, something. This time you can actually write the name of header, meaning instead of div id, you go down here and you can just write header like this. And the browser, most browsers would actually know that whatever is inside these two tags here is in relation to header. And furthermore, we can go inside our header and we can write nav, and nav is a short or term for navigation, meaning whatever we write inside that tag is in relation to navigation. So this is actually just a way of making the browser more clever in reading our page. And obviously we have that, since you are working with Mr. Dan Christensen. I'll always try and make the best code I can. So let's go out here. Some basic stuff here. This is something that you already know about. This is, well, basically explaining that this is a doc type HTML document. We have the char set UTF-8, meaning that the language on this page can be read by European languages. More specific, I think this is Scandinavian, probably Danish. I'm not sure. You can always look them up. UTF-8 is just a standard thing. If you are probably writing Chinese or Hungarian or Russian, you would change this one up here. But that's only for the text on your page. And since we do have English, UTF-8 is perfect. Title is title, nothing special there. Link href equals to styles/main CSS. Rel equals style sheet type text CSS. This is a link to our style CSS, which is in our folder styles, and we named it main.css. Nothing special there. This one, script tag, we are loading our jQuery library. Next up, we have hard-coded style in. This is specific for a wrapper. We changed the background image for our page 1. And since we are changing all the backgrounds on every page, there's no need to go in and specific write in our main CSS what our wrapper should have for background, since we know that it will change. So this is hard coded in right here. And obviously this would change depending on what page you're on. We close our head tag, open our body tag, and inside here, this first thing that is being run is a fade in page on load. It even says that in this comment. So this means, this code structure right here means that whenever the document is ready, run this function, and the function being that we go in, we set a body to display none, can't see anything, opacity to 0. Next up, execute next code. Again, we grab our body ID right here, set and animate the opacity to 1, being 100%. So before it was 0%, now it's 100%. We add a method to it, and that's a fade in, and we set it to have 1.5 seconds. You see this is 1500, but it's actually 1500 milliseconds. So this is the animation of a page whenever we load it. It has that nice fade in, as you've seen. Next up, div id wrapper. This is a skeleton outside our content, and that is basically the frame for our Pixibook. It is 1024 pixels width, height 710 pixel. Okay, So it pretty much fits any of the monitors that we would have in a modern world. Okay, unless you're a Russian kid and don't have any money, you might have issues on actually displaying our website or Pixibook, but our target group is not them. It's rich kids. Next up, section ID equals this section. Since it's actually a bit of a stupid thing that I named it section, but I could call it something else content, but for this specific purpose I'll just name it the same thing it is already named here. This is if I were to have several sections, that's why I name it with an ID, otherwise I could just leave it like that. I don't know why I named it ID equals section. It doesn't do any harm or anything, it just says that this is a section tag. The browser reads that whatever is inside here is actually related to content, and I've just given it an ID of section. I guess it's probably because I've never really been used to work that much with HTML5. I name it this way or write it this way. I could write it Kelly is a boy, like that, and I would refer to inside my CSS the hashtag Kelly _is _ a boy, and then write whatever specifics I would have for this container. But let's just keep it as it is now. Next up, 2 links. These 2 links, guess what? That is actually a forth and back button. Okay, so this is whenever you are going to next page or previous page. Ahref equals to, and this is something that you have to type in yourself, whatever page that you're on, it has to be the previous one, and whatever page you're going to next, it also has to be typed in what page you're actually interested in. It has an ID, back and next. Again, it doesn't really need to have an ID since I'm not referring inside the main CSS to this, but if we were to style it at some point, this is just for future thinking, more or less, you can always refer it in there. The link, instead of text, has an image, and that is being displayed right here, and you can see that it's inside our image folder and it's referred to back PNG and next PNG. We hardcode style directly into them, and that means that the text inside them is actually having a padding of 5 pixels. We try to center it a bit more. Same thing with the other one. This link here has a float right, and that's because we have the 2 buttons appearing in the top left and the top right corner. Next up, more interesting, this is audio. Audio was a pain. It was really difficult to work with, and I'm not gonna pretty much explain all my thoughts here, because that's something I think that you should work with if you are interested in actually working with audio. I myself is not. I hate it. I think it's retarded working with audio on websites. Everyone hates it, since you might have different audio volume going on, and if you're loading a page and that page has not counted what volume you're on, you might be frustrated, and you're always looking to close or turn off any music or sound on a page if they have one. Usually I don't even enter them, but nevertheless we had to use it for this project, and the audio tag is actually a new HTML tag which is specific for audio. And since again I was not used to work with it, there was a lot of issues in regards to how to actually make this work. Since we have a time function on our page, for every time we actually load a page, we have different sound coming in at different times and text being displayed at different times as well. We had to code in within our audio tag a timeout function, and then set the seconds for whenever this page is being loaded, this audio file will be played at that specific time. You see the ID, whale _ scene 1. This is a background sound, I can already tell you that. The preload auto, see it as a default function. You can always look these attributes up if you're interested in knowing more. Then unload data equals var, meaning variable audio player, equals this set timeout function audio player.play. This one will run this variable whenever the page is loaded, run this, and then wait 1 second, play the audio file. That is what this up here is doing. I was so happy when I found out that I could actually write this. It was a Russian guy actually helping me, all the fucking Russian, always helping people. And this is a really good way of controlling your audio. So we close it right here, our audio tag. We have our two source type, our MP3 and OGG, and that's because these are the two audio files that is being read by most browsers. So obviously we have to have them, but we ran out of space. We do not have one single .ogg file because I had to duplicate all the files, reconvert them, and that is just taking too much space. You can do that on your own if you would want to. All the files is there inside the sound file. Okay? I would not recommend that, by the way. Don't know why. Just fuck audio. Next up, new audio file. It starts 4 seconds after the page has been loaded. The previous one started one second after. New file down here, 10 seconds after the page has been loaded. This one is being played. New file, 14 seconds after the page has been loaded. This one plays. And so on and so on, and you can see it here. So this one, all audio, and they are all being timed up here. They have nothing to do with the text or the jQuery. You can actually hard code directly into an audio tag when the audio file will be played. Next up, we have a lot of div containers going on here, and they are all being styled, obviously. And you can go into your main CSS and see that they have the names inside here, page _1 _ narrator, meaning that we are on page 1, and who is actually talking or doing what. This is the narrator. We have the text here being displayed. We have a display none, meaning that all these divs you cannot read, or you can read them, but you can't see them until the specific time for that ID has passed. And that is why we're using jQuery. So right underneath this, we actually have our script tag here. And again, we are referring to whenever the document is ready, run this function. First function, variable audio equals to our document. We go in and focus on the single element ID whale _ scene 1. So this is our background sound. We want to specify our audio volume, and we set it to 0.15. This means that if it would have the value of 1 would be 100%. But since it has the value of 0.15, guess what? This is 15% of top volume. So right here, this audio file is being decreased to 15%. Since we want it to be a background sound, it has to have a lesser volume of the other files, so it's not disturbing. Okay. Next up, we grab our page _1 _ narrator ID, and that is the div container up here. We set a delay of 4 seconds. It will fade in nicely in 1 second and will delay 3 seconds. So it has this nice fade in thing as you see on every page. After that, execute next container, next container, next container, next container. This time we're actually referring to an arrow, and that is the arrow where it points on the control room, and the two page 1 ignite 1 and ignite 2 is the two fire images appearing. And you can see on the last 3 containers down here we don't have any text, we just have images. Okay, inside our CSS, if we go down to page 1, I'll just find it right here. You can see page 1 narrator and page 2 narrator. I set a comma here because they have the same size of text, so there's no need to separate them and make the code structure longer. So this is actually values for 2 containers. But my page 1 narrator 3 has a different size, and this only reason why I'm having this left alone is because the narrator speaks more here than up here. So it's just the difference between the height of the text. I need to make it look good, so it's not having the same height all the text boxes, because then the text would jump outside the background image. And this is something I spoke of in the first video. I have paper medium and paper large. This is the 2 backgrounds images for our text. Okay, so they have different sizes. And you see this one has the height of 80 and this one has the height of 45. And yeah, some more CSS for the other containers. Okay, nothing special there. The animate set interval animate, it actually needs run this function animate here. And this means that if I wanted to animate all these containers, saying like we would want all these containers, div containers, to be displayed again as an animation. So they need to delay 4 seconds, fade in 1 second, and then they delay 3 seconds, and then I could add another value saying, well, I also want them to disappear again, because then I could have the animation of them appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. And I'll have the fade out here, and then I'll just specify a time for it. Just keep in mind, you cannot exceed the maximum amount of when the animate would start, because then you start fucking up all the containers and they would appear faster than they disappear. So it's really math when you're working with quite a lot of containers. So that's just something that you have to think about when you're actually starting to play with this on your own. I'll just remove that again. So this one is actually just, you set an interval for all of these here, and when 30 seconds has passed, they start animate again, being run again over. Okay, this one does not execute anything, but I'd like to have it there since we are going to work with jQuery again. I know animation is a big part of it, so this is just, think of this as just have to be there since we are working with it on some of the other pages. I could remove it and would do no harm to what's ever on page 1, but I'm having it there because at some point we're gonna move away from this for a few months, and I'll probably forget it. So it's very nice that it's just there. Okay. And we close a script tag, close a section, close a wrapper, and that was it for page 1. Again, if you have questions or any thoughts where I probably went too fast or just anything, you're always welcome to ask me them. But I hope this made some sort of sense. Again, you have to play with jQuery in order to understand jQuery. I think I have an idea how to write it. I can write most of it without help, but there's still a lot of ways of how you actually, tweak your code structure. And I don't think that I have the best solution, but I think we had one of the most advanced solution for our Pixie project. Okay, I hope you guys liked it. And again, if you would want more videos, I would create them, not right away, because I need to get away from this Pixibook, but I'll definitely upload some more, especially if you would want the button function page or the index page or any of the other ones. Yeah, take care guys, okay?